Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Wednesday class with the mantras. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parbrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhu Bhuvaswaha Tat Savitra Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Asto ma sadgamya tamso ma jyotirgamya mrityorma amritam gamya. Om sehna vavatu sehna bhunaktu saviryam karvave tejasvi navaditamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om shanti 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 om. In Sanskrit, there is a word Manisha. That means conclusive wisdom or determinate knowledge. And this kind of a knowledge does not arise merely due to some faith or based on dogmatic principles or even emotional attachments. It is born out of intellectual discrimination. Manisha. It is a resolute and it is completely free from doubts. This kind of a knowledge. Manisha. And Panchakam, it refers to that which is five or which contains five. So Adi Shankaracharya ji, he composed Manisha Panchkam. So refers to the conclusive wisdom or determinate knowledge, which is in 5 verses. And that will be the topic of today or maybe next class or maybe next 2 classes. What is such conclusive wisdom? The Atma, which is present everywhere, in every life, is actually none other than the Atma or Paramatma. Paramatma is pervasive, omnipresent energy. It's embedded as a thread within all lives and seated as a witness to everything. And whoever has this knowledge and remains steadfast in that wisdom of non-duality, irrespective of his stature in the world, that means the caste, creed, social classification, or gender, is a real perceptor, a guru, worthy of worship even by the Devtas. Because Devtas don't even have that kind of a wisdom. And this is the conclusive wisdom of Adi Shankaracharya. The core of this Manisha Panchakam, we will see that why did Shankaracharya ji compose these verses? What were the imperatives and the context? Why is Manisha Panchakam so important to us as students? What does it offer to humanity? Even now, what this humanity is going through, the divisiveness, the hatred, the prejudices, we will see that what kind of a wisdom we get from these 5 verses. So these are the questions to which we seek answers through the study of Manisha Panchkam. And we'll see that it's a treasure of wisdom. So treasure of the wisdom definitely taken from the Upanishads, but put into only 5 verses. We all know that Upanishads, they are part of the Vedas, end of the Vedas, and they declare that the self alone is real. Self alone. Upanishads are the science of self. That's why it's called Atam Vidya. We have been studying Taittiriya Upanishad lately. And it is said in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Satyam, Jnanam, Anandam, Brahm. Satyam Jnanam. Self is a Sat. It is the ultimate truth. It is Chaitanya. That means infinite consciousness. And it is Anand, absolute bliss. We know that Upanishads are the spontaneous revelations of truths. Often, they are expressed through the paradoxes. That also we see because we have studied many, many Upanishads. That's why self-study for Upanishads is a little difficult. We all need a guided, competent teacher who can teach us Upanishads. But after that, the self-inquiry is required because ultimately we have to experience subjectively this perfection and absolute bliss. Sure, we need faith in Guru's words, but ultimately we have to do the sadhana so that we experience it too. Of all the life forms, only human beings are capable of aspiring for and attaining such status, where they can experience this. In the Hitopadesha, it is said, Ahar Nidra. Bhayam Maithun. Samanya etat pashubhi naranam. Jnanam naranam adhiko vishesho. Jnanen hina pashubhi samana. It's a very popular verse among the scholars. It says that both animals and humans are subjected to common feelings such as hunger, sleep, fear, and passion. Ahar, Nidra, Bhay, Maithun. And equipped with associated faculties in their physical and intellectual makeup. Then in the next line it says, only the human beings are capable of using these faculties to discriminate and seek the higher pursuit of self-realization. And if we don't take this advantage of this higher intellect, in other words, if this higher goal is unused or this kind of equipment is not used properly, then human life is similar to that of an animal. If all our life we ate ahar, we slept, we are afraid of the death also, or some other disease also, or some other accident also, just by. And ultimately, maithun, just a sexual passion. If we have done only these 4, we are no better than animals. This is the essential import of this verse. So the pursuit of self-realization, Atam Vidya, is the highest goal for human beings. The word Gyan, often we use the word Gyan. That really means knowledge gained through Atam Vidya. That is the Gyan. That means the knowledge of the self. All other external knowledge is known as Vigyan. Gyan is only the Atam Vidya. So the Guru or the preceptor or the guide who can take us towards the Gyan is our Guru. Because with such wisdom, those who undertake the commitment to lead others by their exemplary conduct in the world with a steadfast devotion and also compliance, they have chosen the role which is known as Acharya. Okay, so they live according to these principles and they teach others all these principles too. We all know that the word achar means principles, values, and moral conducts. That's achar. There's a lot of detail given in our Vedas. What are the qualifications of an acharya? So these are the achars. Acharya, by his words, thoughts, and deeds, remain true to the self. Because Acharya knows that he is leading the society or students by example. It could be the society in general or the students who come to the Acharya. So the Acharya need to ensure stern restraints, untiring efforts to ensure that the words, thoughts, and deeds always remain truthful to the chosen path. They actively seek and utilize opportunities for imparting appropriate knowledge to the students. So Manisha Panchkam is the fruit of such an opportunity in Adi Shankaracharya's life. Because he's a Adi Shankaracharya, so he's Acharya. Shankar was his name, Acharya was the title. That's why he's called Shankara Acharya. Adi also, Adi means the first. So these 5 verses of Manisha Panchkam is the culmination of Acharya's compassion to impart the profound wisdom triggered by an event. So like spontaneously, these verses came out of him. Let me tell you the stories or the story, because the reason I said stories, because there have been many, many different variations of this story. As time passes, these great stories, they get little changed also. But let me tell you the one I am familiar with. Once Adi Shankaracharya was walking along the narrow streets of Varanasi, which was called Banaras. Britishers, they called it Banaras. It's Varanasi, a holy city in northern India. He was walking along with his disciples. After completing the ritual bath in the holy river Ganga. Every day they did that. His disciples, they were confronted by a man. I mean, Shankaracharya ji was with them too. It was like a group of people. The Guru and the disciples, they were walking. So there was from the other side, this man who was clad in dirty clothes, very unkempt appearance, holding the leash of his pet dogs. He was coming towards them. On seeing him coming towards them, the disciples of Shankaracharya asked the stranger to quickly move away from the path. And their tone of the voice was very scornful, and very disrespectful. They say, Gach, Gach. I go away, go away. Very disrespectful. Those were the days when discrimination due to birth in the name of the caste system was prevalent. People didn't even mind treating some people as untouchables. And that was the curse which divided the society. So such open discrimination was not uncommon on the streets of India among those who were not truly learned. Sadly, even these days, you will see this in certain areas. As the disciples yelled at the stranger, he looked at Adi Shankaracharya ji as the leader of that group. So he is holding him responsible for the acts of the disciples. And he took him to task by asking. I'll give you the Sanskrit verses also, but let me tell you in English, what did he say actually? He said, oh, the best among the seers. What is that you want to move away? Is it this physical body, which is made out of food and only insentient as that of yours? So that means your body is made of the same elements as my body. Do you want this body to move away? He said, as the body is just a shell, void of any intelligence, how can it feed to your order? Body itself cannot decide. Body by itself is inert. And there's no difference between my body and your body. Perhaps you're asking the indwelling intelligence to move away. Even so, is it not the same Atma that is within you and which is also pervading as an embedded thread among everything? How can the ever-existing Atma separate? Or if you are deluded that the Atma enshrined in lowly bodies are also lowly, that I'm an outcast, I'm a Chandal, is my Atma is Chandal too? He says, tell me what difference is there to the sun, the jewel of the sky, whether its reflection falls on the waters of the holy river Ganges or on the dirty pool? What difference is there in the space, whether it is contained in a golden pot or in an earthenware? As a learner person, you must know this. How come you are able to find differences in the undifferentiated Brahm so as to scorn at me to get away? The stranger's question is direct and very thought-provoking also. What better opportunity is needed for Adi Shankaracharya ji? Is he not the guru for that group of the people, or later on became the guru of the whole humanity? Is he not the true Acharya who has demonstrated in every word, thought, and action the right conduct of a teacher before? That's why this was the perfect timing for him to show the act of true wisdom to his disciples and to the humanity. Adi Shankaracharya ji bowed down to the stranger right away. There was no intellectual arrogance, which is called a Vidya Garva in him. Vidya Garva is the most stubborn disease in human beings. A little education, any degree, and we think we are better than others. That's a Vidya Garva. He didn't have that. We all know that sometimes arrogance comes because of the wealth. And when the wealth vanishes, we know what happens to the arrogance, because sooner or later wealth will vanish. Why have a pride due to perishable possessions? But it's not that easy in the case of the knowledge. So that's why he said that unlike material wealth, knowledge only grows even when given to others. That is the power of the knowledge. So any pride of scholarship will also grow and prove very difficult to get rid of. That is why the learned must be more alert, not giving any room for vain ego to take over. Ego means there's no sign of wisdom. So in Shankaracharya ji, even though he did not say gach gach, his students said gach gach, but he is the one who is showing the humility now. Shankaracharya ji at once looked at the stranger in reverence and responded with these 5 profound verses, which is Manisha Panchkam. That's what the legend is. Let me just go back and tell you that that was the time when the society was divided in India, mainly due to the caste system. And caste system became a birth-based differentiation. Birth-based means a son of a Brahman was called a Brahman, a son of a Shudra was called a Shudra, son of a Kshatriya was a Kshatriya. That is a birth-based. It had no rational or moral basis, yet the caste-based discrimination was widely spread that even led a section of the society to be treated as untouchable. Even though untouchable is not part of the division. The division is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. But we even created untouchables. So people wrongly attached status due to birth and inflicted onto themselves and others undue suffering. So the caste-based discrimination is the most unjust imposition that India was and is suffocated with. So that was a problem there, but the similar problem, we see it in every other society too. We discriminate based upon the skin of the color, the curliness or the straightness of the hair, female or male, or in which area of the society we live in. Sometimes I think human beings have this prejudice in them, so deeply ingrained. We want to feel superior than others. In Sanskrit, the term jati means classification. So in everyday life, we deal with the differences. All things are classified in one way or the other, based on some inherent or acquired differences. And differences are necessary, and we have to deal with them in our lives. In a tree also, we see the leaves look different than the stem. Stem looks different than the roots. So these differences will be there, but we cannot say that one is more important than the other. They got to learn to live and grow together. So inherent and acquired differences in the nature are to be accepted and handled in our lives. In the question of that stranger, the differences of the bodies are raised. He said all bodies are nourished by food only, which is made out of 5 primordial elements. Because no matter which food it is made out of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. In Sanskrit, we call it Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, Akash. Everything is made of those 5. When such integrated understanding is instilled, the obvious differences of the bodies can be handled. Not with a scornful disrespect, but with reverence. Because all bodies of the same, out of the same cause. So these are vyavharika differences. They should be understood and managed in our worldly life. We should know that. But then there's another kind of a differentiation, which is called a pratipakshika. Perceptual differences, or differences which exist only in the imagination of the beholder. The discrimination due to birth-based caste system is an example of this. The notion that one is a superior or inferior based only on the birth is clearly irrational. It has no basis. Yet such difference in our minds exist in different forms among us even today. That is the sad part. In every society, we see such a kind of a burden. This is a burden actually, causing infinite stress on the society in one form or the other. And the caste system from India is a compelling example, rooted as a disease in India and continue to be advocated by those who really do not comprehend or adhere to the truth of the Vedas. If anybody who has studied Gita and the Vedas will know clearly, only to rid of such evil and promote the true value is the conduct of humanity. And that's what the Jagat Guru Adi Shankaracharya did, tried to do. Through this example, what happened over there. So a key lesson from the Manisha Panchkam is that the evil of caste system must be totally rejected and removed. Mistakenly, the word Shudra, because we see that word often, we use that word also. When we say Shudra, we think it's a lowly person. Even when we are not talking about untouchables, even the Shudra word. And the word Brahman, when we use, we think it's a holy person, merely by the reasons of birth. And there is also a misconception that the entire notion of birth-based discrimination is only due to the use of words such as Shudra or Brahman in the Vedas. This is totally incorrect. And nothing is far from truth. When we spread this kind of a message, that means we really don't know the truth yet. Okay, so we got to understand these words properly. 4 different classifications are mentioned in Manu Samriti, because Samritis are secondary scriptures. Shruti is the primary, Samriti is the secondary. So we don't understand neither we understand the Shrutis nor we try to understand the Samriti. We just pick up some words here and there and we think we know it all. Like a very shallow knowledge that is very dangerous. Let me tell you the Sanskrit text from Manu Samriti, where it's said, Janmana jayate shudra, karmana jayate dvija, ved adhya bhaved vipraho, brahma janati brahmana. So this verse conveys that only the right character and the right conduct of a person differentiate one from the others in the world. So ultimately, whether we are a Shudra or whether we are a Brahman, our own conduct tells us. It's not based upon the birth. Those whose actions are driven by whims and fancies of the body and mind, with no regards to the norms of the society or care for the righteous living, are considered to be Shudra. He says, at birth and as young children, we have no idea of what is right or wrong. So that's why he said, Janmana jayate Shudra. At birth, we are all Shudra because we don't know it yet. Because young children, they got to be told by the parents. So through the guidance of the parents and subsequently by the teachers and the society at large, we learn to live a righteous life. That is the duty of the parents and the teachers, to show the right way. Then what happens? Our life gets transformed. So much to be considered as a new birth as to be called Dvij. So we are born as a Shudra because we don't know the right conduct. Then we are taught. That's when we have a second birth, Dvij. Dvi means two. Jan means birth. So Dvijan, actually, that is the correct pronunciation. Dvijan, twice born. He is the person who leads a righteous, adhering to the code of conduct, guided by the authority of the Vedas and appropriate for the society he lives in. And although the guidance for his ascent starts from the parents, because first job is parents, that's why parents are the first guru. And subsequent, he's learning under qualified teacher to become a Dvij. And with the help of a guru, ultimately the proper and spiritually elevated life. And when a person reaches there, they are known as Vipra, according to Manu Samriti. So Shudra, Dvij, Vipra. Because by studying the Vedas, performing the duties, Vipra has carved out a specific path to live in this world and learned how to live harmoniously and serving both the personal quest for spiritual enlightenment and the social guidance of the moral authority. We take a lot from the society. We need to learn how to give back to the society also. We don't live in a vacuum, but at the same time, we got to elevate ourselves to that highest also. Only then we are Vipra. And then after that, guidance of a guru, a Satguru. We find, or we can say that with the grace of the God, we find a guru, or guru finds us. We attain the true knowledge of Brahm only after that. That Gyan only a guru can give. Right conduct how to live in the society, how to control yourself. You can learn from others. But the real gyan, the real subjective experience, we can have only through a guru. That's why that famous couplet, Guru Govind dono khade, jako laake paan. Right? Balihari, Guru aapne. Right? So Guru is the one who shows the God. God is everywhere. So that's why we are more indebted to Guru. Then you can be known as a Brahman. So one becomes a Brahman only by the attainment of supreme knowledge of Brahma, not by birth or the external appearance. So caste system, you can see, has no role to play according to the birth. We should not have unfair comparisons due to birth. Only the character of the individual matters. Righteous living is the basis. Responsible conduct in the context of society is the measure. Differences, both inherent and acquired, are inevitable in the worldly affairs. But beneath all these differences is the undifferentiated Atma. Once we understand this truth, that is a integrating. Everything is nothing but the one, and everyone is again. This is a famous saying among the scholars. So with that knowledge, what happens actually? We feel tranquil. The ability to see the same divinity in everything. And this is the truth of the Vedas. And how do we develop this wisdom? Vedas, they define two approaches to understand this world. One is known as the effect orientation. The other one is the cause orientation. Two ways we can look at this as intellectuals. Ordinarily, our orientation is towards the effect. Like something already happened and we see what the effect is. Without even thinking about it, I disrespected somebody. Then I see, oh, effect. But cause orientation is necessary to acquire better knowledge, according to the Vedic seers. And in the case of self-inquiry, the cause orientation is important. It's like a paramount cause. It leads to the wisdom that the inherent and acquired differences in this phenomenal world only mask the underlying and undifferentiated Brahma. And with this kind of a wisdom, living in this differentiated world becomes a play and indeed a joy then. We don't think that, oh gosh, life is a burden. Life becomes a joy. We should be able to view the world as a joyful place. Life is but a play, and our role is to happily engage and duly perform. And that's what the Vedas tell us. So now let me tell you, just quickly go through that stranger's questions, that Chandal's questions. And then we'll start with the Manisha Panchkam, the answers which came out of Adi Shankaracharya's mouth at that point, those 5 verses, Manisha Panchkam, that we'll touch upon in the next class. he said, Anamayad, Anamayam, Atvaha, Chaitanyamev, Chaitanyat, Yati var Duri kartum vanchasi kim bruhi gach gacheti. He said, oh, best among the seers, whom are you addressing by your scornful command as go away, gach, gach? Is it to my physical body, which is made up of food as yours, or the immutable intelligence, the Atma, embodied within, which is also within you and pervasive? So this was the direct question spoken by that Chandal. So he's raising a point from the Pratipashk, or the perceived differences, leading to a scornful discrimination and societal injustice. When he says sharir, that also means the gross sharir, the sathul sharir, the suksham sharir also, and the karan sharir also. That's all sharir. So that is his question. Then his another question is continuation of that. Pratyag vastunihi nistarnaha sahaj anand bodh ambhu viproho ayam swapacho ayam iti api mahan ko ayam vibhed brahma. He said the Atma is the dearest and remains as the tideless, serene ocean of bliss, and the indwelling essence in all of us. So he was a learned person. There is an interpretation of this story. Some authors, they also say that that was a God himself who came to test Shankaracharya. With our intellect and with my little intellect, we cannot judge it. But looking at the questions, that Chandal was a learned person. So the Atma is the dearest and remains as the tideless, serene ocean of bliss and the indwelling essence in all of us. As this should be the perfect understanding of the truly learned, how can such a scornful discrimination possible? As one is a holy Brahman and the other a lowly dog eater, when all is the undifferentiated Brahman. So whether you look at it from with the eyes that on the body, my body is no different than your body. My body is made out of 5 elements and yours did too. Or you can say these days, we all inhale the same air. And then he says, if you think you are the Atma, then Atma can never be differentiated. It's all pervasive. No difference between your Atma and my Atma. Can you imagine if we all started thinking like this? What kind of a serenity we'll feel? It is up to us to feel that this kind of a truth and this kind of a tranquility. I was about to share something which happened this morning. Maybe after the class, I'll share it with you. But let me finish this. So the essential nature of the Atma is defined. What is that which is the nearest to me? So we'll stop it here. And there is a third verse also. So we'll start maybe third verse, which is spoken by this great, I would say he's a rishi. who's giving us this knowledge. And then we'll look at what Adi Shankaracharya ji is giving it to us. So we'll stop it here. I think it's a good place to stop, and we can have some dialogue also. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadai Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.